A detective investigating a murder is startled when the deceased kids tell him to stop sending them toys. What toys? I didn't send you any, he says, and finds a clue that solves the 7-year-old murder mystery. Mr. Parker grinned under the slanting rays of the setting sun. Traffic these days, damn. I would have started work pretty early today if it wasn't for the traffic. It wasn't just the traffic that bothered the 47-year-old detective. For 7 years, an unsolved case had given him many a sleepless night. A man died suspiciously in his own home, leaving his 2 children orphaned. Mr. Parker stepped down from his Mustang and walked toward the crime scene inside the late Mr. Harvey's house. Nothing about this building had changed over the years except for the fountain late widower loved. It was now drier and the marble statue of an angel in the center had started giving way to the forces of nature. Like he'd been doing for the past 7 years, Mr. Parker put on a pair of gloves and scanned the place under his magnifying glass, looking for clues. Damn it, I told him not to change the rug. Even minute traces of hair or fingerprints could go unnoticed. Mr. Parker grumbled under his breath. He'd brought the house to preserve the clues that lay hidden there, though he allowed Mr. Harvey's mother and his 2 kids, Jason and Rebecca, to live there as they had nowhere to go. Mrs. Harvey, who changed the rug? Mr. Parker asked Doris, Mr. Harvey's mother. I told you not to touch a speckle of dust here. Now you know how important it is to solve the case to find who murdered your son. Doris frowned. She hated it whenever the detective came by with his annoying private eye brain and investigations, though she was thankful he let them stay there. It also bothered her that he bought the house when it was mortgaged at the time of his son's passing. Where are the children? Mr. Parker asked. Doris told him they were at the cemetery at their father's grave, and he hurried to see them there. As soon as 15-year-old Jason saw Mr. Parker, he stormed toward him. Why are you here? Aren't you done bothering us with your investigation? It's been 7 frickin' years. Leave us in peace. Go away. Wasn't expecting that. Mr. Parker was stunned. Can you please stop sending us those silly toys? It's annoying, Rebecca fumed. Mr. Parker had no idea what they were talking about. Toys? What toys? I didn't send you any. I know you don't like me hanging around, but I have yet to solve your dad's case, remember? Jason and Rebecca frowned and fumed at Parker. Don't lie, Mr. Parker. Quit this stupid suspense and do something useful. Please leave us alone. We know you sent us those toys every year on our dad's death anniversary. Mr. Parker raised his eyebrows and asked Jason to show him the alleged toys. The kids accompanied him to their home and showed him some stuffed toys. Thanks. I'll be taking a couple of them to my office to inspect them, he said, and waved goodbye to the kids. Mr. Parker switched off his office lights, leaving only the lamp on his study glowing brightly. He held one of the toys under the bright light and inspected it. Suddenly, something strange caught his eye. He slid his hand into the teddy bear's shirt pocket and took out a ticket. Luna Park ticket, he exclaimed and flipped it over again and again, knowing little that this was his golden ticket to crack the mystery of the late Mr. Harvey's death. He called Jason immediately to find out more about this clue. He asked him if he was aware of the ticket he found in one of the toys. Ticket for Luna Park? Jason clarified. Yeah, does that mean anything to you? Mr. Parker pressed. The day before my father died, we went to Luna Park, Jason revealed. Then he suddenly remembered something. There was a man dressed in a colorful costume and kept following us. He scared the god out of us. Dad tried to drive him away, but he wouldn't budge. Then Dad took out his phone and threatened to call the cops. That's when the guy stopped following us. Mr. Parker pictured the scene in his mind. He sensed something fishy and pressed Jason for more details. Can you tell me what this guy was dressed as? Like a clown. He was wearing scary makeup and started dancing like a lunatic. We were scared. Mr. Parker hung up and started piecing the whole picture together. A man dressed as a clown at Luna Park. Am I still missing something? He followed the lead and visited the park the next day. A lot of rides and booths had changed, but what didn't change was the park's tradition of amusing visitors with their costume dressers. He checked around sipping a soda and looked for the man dressed as a clown. There he is, he exclaimed, tossing the soda can into the dumpster. He hurried after the man in a clown costume. The guy suddenly started walking fast and then he began to run. He somehow sensed Mr. Parker was following him. Mr. Parker had come pre-equipped with ideas if such a tense situation should arise. He took a handful of marbles from his pocket and tossed them. The guy slipped and fell to the ground with a heavy thud. Mr. Parker quickly nabbed him and took him to his office in investigation. Why'd you run after seeing me? He asked the guy named Gary. Were you the man stalking the late Mr. Harvey's family in the park 7 years ago? Tell me the truth. Why'd you kill him? Gary was stunned and then started to cry. I didn't do it intentionally. It was an accident. It turned out that 7 years ago, Gary had gone to Mr. Harvey's house the night of the incident. Since Mr. Harvey was Luna Park's regular visitor, Gary had seen him often. He'd obtained his address from the registry for a lucky draw event in which Mr. Harvey and his kids participated. Why were you stalking them the previous night? Parker chimed in. I wasn't stalking them. It was my first day wearing a scary clown costume and I just wanted to make sure I looked terrifying enough in front of the kids. I wanted to see their reaction. I was happy it worked. But I decided to thank them and apologize personally for terrifying them, so I went to their house and rang the doorbell. Mr. Harvey answered the door and was furious when he saw me. I was still in my clown costume and he didn't recognize me. He walked to the landline in the living room and called the cops. I followed him in saying I was sorry, but he wouldn't listen. He thought I was still stalking them, so I put my hand in the bag to take out the 2 soft toys I brought to his kids. He misunderstood and thought I was taking out some weapon and charged towards me. I pushed him away to stop him. He fell and hit his head hard on the edge of a table. He fell unconscious and I got scared. I fled and later learned the man had died, but it was an accident. Gary felt so guilty he decided to send Jason and Rebecca toys every year on their dad's death anniversary. He wanted them to be happy and get over the tragedy. Though his intentions were sincere, he was later arrested for manslaughter and for hiding the crime for 7 years. Mr. Parker sighed with relief after the 7-year-old mystery was finally resolved. He returned Mr. Harvey's house to Mrs. Harvey without expecting a dime in exchange. Jason and Rebecca thanked him for solving their dad's case and apologized for misunderstanding him. "This house is all yours, it's the least I could do." Finally, let the late Mr. Harvey rest in peace, he said and drove past their gate.
If you liked the video, please give it a thumbs up and consider sharing it with someone who may find it interesting. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.